Good morning, students. Today we are going to see the topic policies. This is the next topic in the syllabus in Unit 2. So when we talk about policies, first we should understand what does a policy mean. Any policy in management is a general statement which is formulated by an organization for the guidance of its personnel. So the objectives are first formulated and then we are going to plan all these policies. When we say policies are the guidelines, we should know these guidelines are for guiding what kind of thing. So the objectives are set first, and then to achieve these objectives, we are going to have a framework or guidelines which are called as policies. So policies are a mode of thought and the principles underlying the activities of an organization or an institution. So first we are going to frame or set the goals and objectives, and then we are going to decide on the guidelines which are called as policies. So we are going to have look at two different definitions given for policy by different authors. So first definition is according to Coons and O'Donnell. Policies were identified as guides to thinking in decision making. They assume that when decisions are made, these will fall within certain boundaries, which means these are the guidelines, and also policies are the framework which are going to set the boundaries within which the actions should be taken. So all these are done during the planning step itself. So according to George Terry, policy is a verbal, written or implied overall guide setting up boundaries that supply the general limits and direction in which the managerial action will take place. So they are the guidelines. They have threshold, which means they are going to set up boundaries, and also they are going to provide everything within certain limits and provide direction to the people in the organization so that we can achieve goals. So once the objective is set, we are going to have a framework or a set of guidelines which are called as policies. These guidelines will provide information about direction in which the employee or the manager should work, and also the boundaries within which they should work. Okay, all these are again for achieving the objective only. Only when we have a boundary and a proper direction and a proper guideline, we can achieve the goal more effectively. So these are called as policies. You would have heard about these are the policies of a particular company, which means those are the guidelines that are followed by that particular organization. As I said, in our department, we do have something called as vision and mission. Yes or not? That will be differing from the other departments in the same organization. So policies will be at department level, divisional or sections, and also at organization as a whole. When we talk about the policies at the organization as a whole, those are the guidelines that are available or that should be followed by all the employees in the organization. So now when we talk about these policies, we should know about the features or characteristics of a policy. So when we frame a policy, when we set the guidelines, we should analyze all these. So that it will be a better guideline or a better policy to achieve the goal effectively. So a policy is a standing plan which provides answers to recurring problems. So it is a plan that is going to provide answers to the problems, which means it provides answers or guidelines to the members of the organization in deciding the future course of action. Course of action are nothing but the activities that are to be implemented by the employees. So this is going to provide a plan for executing all those, or it provides guidelines. Okay, this policy explains and provides what a member should do rather than what he is actually doing now. An employee may be working with some task, but this policy mentions or clearly specifies and explains him what he has to do actually. So it is a standing plan which provides answers to recurring problems. So that is the first feature of any, that should be the feature of any policy that is made. The second point, a policy limits an area within which a decision is to be taken for the achievement of organizational goals. Obviously, policy is to achieve the organization goals only, but the key point here is it limits an area within which a decision has to be taken. So it is going to avoid repeated analysis of situations, because we are going to have a set of boundaries. We are going to have a threshold. We are going to have a particular area in which the decision has to be made. We are not going to deviate from that. So, because of this particular point, we are going to avoid repeated analysis because we are already falling in the particular place. So, this will avoid having repeated analysis of situations. Okay, so it limits the area within which any particular decision has to be made. The third point here is policies are models of thought and principles underlying the activities of an organization. This was there in the definition itself. See, the definition itself at this point. Look at the third point. Policies are a mode of thought and the principles underlying the activities of an organization. So, that is given as the third main feature of a policy, which means that the reason this is given because they give or they guide the behavior and directions or decisions made by every executive. So it is a models of thought and principles, which means it is going to guide the managers in taking any decision, any creative decision. Then the last point here is about policies are framed by all managers in the organization. There is a need for giving guidelines for future. Yes, of course. There is obviously a need for guidelines for future course of action, which means before I implement something, there should be guidelines to implement it so that it comes out well. So policies are only for that. Policies are framed by all managers in the organization. That is the key point here. It should not just stop at the top level manager. It should be across all levels in the organization. At higher level of management, important policies might be decided, while at lower level, some other minor policies or less important policies could be framed. So these are the main features of any policy that is generated in an organization at a department level or at an organization level. So let me repeat all these ones. First, it is a standing plan which provides answers to the problems. Second, it is going to limit the area in which a particular decision is made. Third, it is a model of thought and principles which is going to underline the activities, actual managerial activities. The fourth point, they are famed by all levels of people in the organization. So these are the main features when we are going to frame a policy. Then coming to the next topic, which is purpose of policy. So by this time, we all know policies are regarded as important for realizing the objectives of an organization. So they also ensure coordination of efforts and activities in the enterprise because they are the guidelines. So let us have a look at the exact points which provide the need of policy or importance of policy, otherwise termed as purpose of policy. The first point here is the main purpose of policies is to ensure that there is no deviation from the planned course of action. Obviously, that is the important point. That is what we were dealing with in the previous slide, which means we are going to have a area and we are going to have a boundaries and we are going to have guidelines so that the goal, the pathway to achieve the goal is proper and effective. So we are going to ensure that there is no deviation. And the second point, since policies set a framework for each and every person, it ensures proper delegation of authority, which means a manager knows the extent of authority required by a subordinate, isn't it? So he is going to decide the authority for his subordinates and he is going to allocate work to him or those people. And then policies serve the purpose of delegating adequate authority. This is what is important. By setting a framework, we know what are the workloads of each and every employee. We will have a clear plan of delegation of authority, which means assigning work to an employee in an organization. That is what is called as delegation of authority, which means giving responsibility to the people in the organization. The third point here is policies allows the scope for interpretation. Scope for interpretation, the action meaning here is, see, the main aspects are obviously given in the policy, but the actual mode of implementation is decided only by the concerned employees who are involved in implementation. I repeat, see here we have given the pointers, allow the scope of interpretation, which means different person will have different perspective, isn't it? The main aspects of any course of action is given the policies, but the mode of implementation, actual mode of implementation is the employee's choice, it seems. So this is all about the third point. The fourth point here is policies are helpful for future planning. Obviously, the impact and influence of policies will help in thinking about the future, because we are going to set the boundaries. We are going to have a trial analysis also. See, whenever we make a policy, that is important. We are going to have a trial run of the policy. So based on that, we can have a better prediction about future actual performance. And also, these policies are again not rigid, they are flexible. Based on the changes in the environment, we can change them. Okay. But we are not going to often change them. Only when there is desperate necessity, we are going to change them. Policies also ensure consistency of action, which means the guidelines are similar for everybody, but actions must conform to the broad outlines or goals. This is what is consistency of action. Though we are going to have a different set of action plan for different teams, at last there should not be any inconsistencies in coordinating all these in achieving the main goal, the overall objective. So there should be consistency in the actions that are being taken. So policies provides consistency, which means they are going to ensure if there are any inconsistencies or consistencies in the, they are going to ensure there are consistencies maintained, and they are going to find if there are any inconsistencies. Again, if there are inconsistencies, you can have a look at the first point. That is what is deviation. See, all these are again interrelated. So this is all about purpose of policy. See, if you see in one textbook or prescribed textbook, we have these 5 points or 6 points. If you check the reference textbook, it may have 1 or 2 additional points. Okay, the basic is this. These are the main need for policy or purpose of policy. Even if you can add 2 or 3 points extra, it does not have a later impact. You can add. Okay. So I'll repeat all these again to ensure that there is no deviation, and it ensures proper delegation of authority, scope for interpretation, it helps in future planning, and also ensures consistency of action. So these are the 5 important needs or importance or purpose of policy. Now, the next topic is considerations in policy formulation. Policy formulation is nothing but framing the policy. So consider what are the considerations that to be taken into account when we are formulating a policy. So these are the 6 main considerations that should be taken into account. The first one is organizational goals, followed by proper participation. Then it should reflect business environment, consistency, proper communication, and then in writing, which means policy should be in writing, it should be documented. Already we have seen this in the previous topic itself. All the objectives should be in writing, because there should not be any inconsistencies. People should not have confusions in following them, so they should be in writing. So let me justify the points for all these. The first point is organizational goals. So when we talk about organizational goals, policies are the guidelines, isn't it? These policies should be framed only after setting the overall goal or objective of an organization. So the goal, we can say it in simple words as goals are the targets which are to be achieved, and policies devise ways for achieving them. That's it. So any policy should be dependent or should be made only based on the organizational goals. So without considering organizational goals, I cannot think of framing a policy. So organizational goals are the first main aspect that should be considered. The second one is proper participation. Policies should be framed by participation of persons at different levels of the management, isn't it? So if policies are framed at top level, without knowing the views of the lower level managers and the actual employee and the employees who actually implement this, then it is not going to produce the desired results. So to ensure successful implementation of policies, there is a need for joint participation at the time of formulating any policy. So proper participation means participation of all the people who are involved in this particular objective achievement or goal achievement. So that is what is proper participation. Everybody should be involved in this. At least the ideas or feedback from the employees at the lower level should be got before we set the policy. That will be effective policy. The third point is reflect business environment. The policy should be based on internal as well as external environment. We were talking about planning premises. Planning premises means it is all about the study of internal and external environment. In planning process, I mentioned about this step, and also in other topics like objectives also we were dealing with internal and external environment, isn't it? So reflect business environment. So any policy which is framed should be based on internal and external environment. So the situation prevailing inside and outside will provide a realistic base for any policy. So the policy should have also flexibility for adjustment if there is any change in the business environment. Here the business environment is both the internal as well as the external environment. Already I've told, whenever we are going to make a plan, the plan should not be rigid, it should be flexible. So based on the factors like environmental factors, environmental changes, or market field, or changes in the organization, we are going to change the plan, isn't it? Same, we are going to have policy based on the environmental factors only. So this is all about the third point. Fourth point here is consistency. Actually, various policies of an enterprise should conform to one another. It is not one policy that is being followed in a company, isn't it? There is a set of policy. Policy is a set of guidelines, ma. And again, when we talk about policies, I mean, when we talk about an organization, it will have a collection or a set of policies that are followed. It could be again, as I said, it could be again at the department level or at an organization level or at a unit level. Okay, so there should not be any inconsistencies among various policies. All this should work in correlation. So this is all about consistency. It must be ensured that policies are related to enterprise objectives and do not conflict guidelines. So the guidelines provided by one department should not violate the guidelines or deviate from the guidelines of the overall guidelines given by the overall organization or guidelines set for the organization level. Okay. The next point is proper communication. So the policy should be properly communicated to each level of the management, which means if people will have doubts, obviously, though you say these are the guidelines, people will have, employees in the organization will have doubts regarding following the guidelines or even understanding the guidelines if they are so complicated. So we are going to make it simple. We are going to have a simple guideline. But then if people have doubts, all those doubts should be cleared by the managers. So it is the duty of management to clarify the doubts of the people and provide proper clarification. This is all about proper communication. The second point is participation. Everyone should be involved in framing the policy. This is all about clearing the doubts of the people at the lower level. Okay. Then the last point is the policy should always be in writing. This will ensure proper and correct implementation. If they are not in writing, disputes may arise between or disputes may arise regarding the contents itself and also the purpose. They may understand the content of the policy, but then they will not have a clear idea about the purpose. So confusions will be there, disputes will be there. So again, the language that are used for this policy should be simple so that it is well understood by the concerned people. So again, the understanding again correlates with the previous point, proper communication. So these are the main 6 areas to be considered while framing the policy. So the next point is all about, the next topic is all about characteristics of a sound policy. So when we say this policy is effective, what should be the characteristics of all those policies? So we have listed, I have listed 12 points here. So we are going to have consider all these 12 points whenever we are framing any policy. At least most of these points should be taken into account. The first point is it should be comprehensive in scope and flexible for its implementation. So we all know we should not make it complicated. Okay, we should provide a scope about the policy clearly to the employees, and it should not be rigid. That is what is flexible. It should be flexible for implementation. The second point, ensure good understanding and harmony among different departments. It's all about the coordination. And third point, based on facts and sound judgments. See, any policy is framed after analyzing the facts or after knowing the objective, isn't it? When do we set the objective? After analyzing the facts. We cannot decide an objective based on mere analysis or based on some history of things. We should analyze the real facts, present situation, and then only we are going to set the objective. So, and then only we are going to frame this policy. So it should be based on facts and sound judgments, and it should be uniform for its applications. It must reflect its intended objectives. Obviously, it is going to work in correlation or in relevant to the objectives or goals. It should be clear, definite, and positive. See, all these are just points given in the book. No explanation for each and every point. I'm just repeating. See, all these we have already studied in the or learnt in the previous topics. I'm just repeating how those are correlated with these points. Okay, so it should be precise, clear, definite, and positive. It should be properly communicated and clearly understood. This also was covered in the previous criteria, isn't it? Then it must be in writing to avoid misinterpretation, obviously. Then it must be reasonable, permanent, and stable. If it is the organizational policy, we would have read these are the policies of the company that are followed. Any advertisement or for that matter or any LIC, we always talk about the policies of a company, isn't it? So they are defined ones. Whenever we need to change them desperately based on environmental situations, only then we are going to change them. Till that, they are going to remain permanent, stable, and also reasonable. Why? They are being set as the guidelines. Okay. The next point is it should be periodically reviewed to check up its effectiveness. Is these see the ninth point and 10th point are again correlated. We are going to periodically review whether this policy works good or holds good. Okay. If any changes are required, then we are going to change them. Okay. It should incorporate all possible contingencies. So possibly we are going to cover all possible ways to better implement the objective. We are going to have a better plan for this implementation using this policy. And then it should never be conceived in haste, which means we are going to think properly, do a proper deep analysis before we set a policy. All of a sudden, within few minutes or within a day, we are not going to set the guidelines for an organization. So it should not be conceived in haste. So these are the characteristics of a sound policy. See, in the previous topic, I have told 5 points about the features, isn't it? Those are the features of any policy. Here, it is all about a sound policy features. So these are very important if the policies that we are going to frame should be very, very effective. Okay. So the next topic is process of policy formulation. So the smooth working of any organization requires the formulation of policies. A well-thought exercise is essential to formulate sound policies. So this now only we have come to the process of policy formulation. All these time we were dealing with the definition, features, purpose, and the areas that should be taken into consideration and the characteristics of a sound policy. Now this is the actual step-by-step process for formulating a policy. So these are the 6 steps that are involved in framing or setting a policy. So this is an important question. So the first point or the first step is defining policy area. The second one is identifying policy alternatives. Then once the alternative comes, when we have choices, we are going to evaluate them, isn't it? So evaluating alternatives, and then Based on the evaluation, we would know which is best. So fourth point will be obviously selection of a policy. See, all these points were repeated in planning itself. It is just the word difference here. Instead of planning, we are going to have the policy. Then the fifth point here is trial run of a policy. As I've told, we are going to run the policy once and check if it holds good. Okay, we are not going to actually implement every policy and check. That is not possible. We are going to just have the guidelines. These are just nothing but the guidelines. So based on different projects in the future, we will have a better understanding of all these policies. So the sixth point here is implementing the policy. So this is all about the actual implementation. So first one, when we talk about defining policy area, so we should actually frame, or we should define the area for which a policy has to be set. So the area for which a policy is to be framed should be defined. Say for example, if I'm deciding the guidelines policy for a particular department, CSE department, I should know for which area I'm going to set or frame a policy. Or if it is ECE department, I should know it is for the ECE department that I'm framing the guidelines or policy. So it is all about defining the policy area. It could be a research area or a testing domain in the any organization. These are few examples. So the objectives and needs of the organization should be kept in mind while specifying the policy area. Example, while framing a marketing policy, the marketing expectations and thrust area should be kept in mind, obviously. The scope of the policy will depend upon the area which it is supposed to cover. So the first thing is to decide the policy area. So based on policy area, the policies or guidelines will differ. It is different for a marketing thing. So marketing policy will be different from an other like development policy. So we are going to decide the policy area first. So it is all about the area for which a policy is to be framed should be defined first. It should be in correlation with the objectives. Okay. Example, you can talk about marketing policy. Okay, it is going to analyze the marketing expectations and the market feels like threats in the markets. Second one, identifying policy alternatives. So the second step in policy formulation is identification of policy alternatives. So the alternatives should be decided based on an analysis of external and internal environment. The internal environment will tell about the strengths and weaknesses of the organization, while external environment will reveal opportunities and the level of competition, which means it is SWOT analysis. SWOT. S stands for strength, W for weakness, O for opportunities, T for threats. So we are going to do this SWOT analysis and identify policy alternatives, which means we are going to identify different policies for that particular policy area that we have chosen. Okay, so every alternative must ensure that the objective of the policy will be achieved. Okay, so this point is common. Every time we make a policy, we are going to check whether it achieves it. It is the pathway to achieve the goal. The third point, evaluating alternatives. At the second step, we have identified a number of policies. So we are going to evaluate all of them to pick up the best one. So evaluating alternatives, they should be analyzed they should be analyzed to check if they are helping in the organization to achieve its goals. So every alternative should be in the process of achieving goals only. Okay, factors like cost, benefits, resources, etc. are being analyzed. So based on this, we are going to evaluate them. Okay. So the effect of various alternatives on the environment should also be analyzed. That is again important point. How are they going to impact the environment? So all these are being done in the third step called as evaluating alternatives. The next step is selection of a policy. After proper evaluation, most appropriate alternative will be selected. So the selection of a policy is a long-term commitment. So in case if the alternative does not look satisfactory, here when I say alternative, it is the collection of alternatives. See, we have evaluated all the alternatives, isn't it? So we are going to check if all these alternatives are not going to be satisfactory, if they do not look satisfactory, then effort should be made to develop other alternatives. We are not going to get convinced with whatever we have it in hand and proceed with it. That will not be the effective way of selecting. Selection of a policy here should be the best policy among the alternatives. Okay, if they are not best in achieving the goal, they are no way called best. So we are going to drop them. Again, we are going to identify, and then we are going to pick up the best policy. This is what is called as selection of policy. It is not just picking one among the 10 things available, 10 policies available. If all these 10 alternatives does not look satisfactory, we are going to drop them. Okay, we are not going to get convinced in this point. Then fifth step is trial run of a policy. At the fourth step, we have decided the most appropriate policy, isn't it? Now we are going to have a trial run. So the policy should be implemented on a trial basis. It should be assessed if the policy is achieving the desired objectives. So there may be such suggestions during the test run, but all these suggestions are to modify the policy. So during the test run, if we think if it is going to impact the environment or affect the organization or affect a particular department or something, those suggestions can be considered to modify the policy. Okay. And then the next point is implementing policy. So if the policy is finally all right, which means in the fourth step, we have picked the most appropriate policy. In the fifth step, we have done a trial run also. So in the sixth step, if the policy is finally all right, we are going to implement them. The policy should be explained to those who are going to implement it. So this is what I've told. Disseminating the guidelines to the employees who are involved in actual implementation. There should be a proper discussion about the implications and impact of various clauses or provisions of the policy. So proper communication of the purpose and objective of the policy only will help in better implementation of the policy. This is what is all about implementing policy. We are going to take it to the people in the organization, employees in the organization. So this is all about process of policy formulation. So these are the six steps involved in framing or formulating a policy. First, we are going to identify the policy area for which we are going to frame a policy. Second, we are going to analyze different factors and identify the policy alternatives. Then we are going to evaluate the alternatives using different techniques, and then we are going to select the most appropriate plan. If none of the policies are satisfactory, we are going to drop them and have a new set of policies for evaluation. And fourth step, we are going to select the most appropriate policy. Fifth, we are going to have a trial run. We are going to try to check how this policy is going to work. Sixth one, if all these are found satisfactory, if the policy is found all right, we are going to implement them. Here, see, this unit 2 is all about planning, isn't it? We are not going to do actual implementation, Yama. It is all about planning. See, the policy itself comes under planning because we are just providing the guidelines. All these will be followed by the development team. When the actual product is being developed, these will be followed. Here, implementation of policy means we are going to discuss about all these to the people. We are going to disseminate the policy or guidelines to the employees in the organization. Okay. Next, the last topic is types of policies. So we cannot just say these are the only 4 types of policies. So the main types are these. We can even have the other types of policies also. So different books have different types of policies added on. Okay. So the first step is major policies, and then supportive policies, minor policies, and then composite policies. The first one being major policies. When we say major policies, these are the policies which provide or which give shape to an enterprise in accomplishment of its purpose or goal, which means we are going to have a goal for the organization and we are going to provide guidelines in achieving them. So this is just the major policy. So the guidelines that are followed by the organization as a whole are called as major policies. They should also be supportive to the organizational objectives. So based on the organizational goals and objectives, we are going to set policies for the entire organization. These are called as major policies. Okay. Second one, supportive policies. So besides major policies, there is need to have supportive policies. Supportive policies are policies which are meant to help in implementation of major policies. Like we had strategic plan, and then we had something called a tactical plan, and then we had individual plans, isn't it? So individual plans help in achieving the department plans, departmental plans help in achieving the operational plan as a whole, and tactical plans, and then strategic plan. The same, these supportive policies are meant to help in the implementation of major policies. So let us consider the development. Let me give you one example. Let us consider the development of a new product as a major policy. We are going to develop a new product in the organization. So that is, we are going to have a policy for that implementation. That is what is the major policy. Okay. So minor policy for that will be to find out the unfulfilled needs of the customers. That could be the supportive policy. So we are going to find all those, and then we are going to provide guidelines to include all those points also in the development of the product. So that is what is supportive policies. And then we have something called as minor policies. The policies which do not influence main objectives of the enterprise are called as minor policies. I repeat, the policies which do not influence the main objectives of the enterprise are called as minor policies. So these might relate to some routine works or routine matters of less importance. Say, for example, a policy may be to hire casual workers in case of emergencies, isn't it? This will come under minor policies. Or a manager may allow workers to go on leave if the workload is less. If the workload is less, so obviously the workers need not come for the special working slot. So they may be allowed to take leave. So these are the minor policies. They are not going to affect the overall objective or overall policies. I repeat the example, a policy to hire casual workers in case of emergencies, or a manager may allow workers to go on leave if the workload is less. So these are minor policies. Typically, the policies relating to these kind of examples, like if they're not going to have a direct impact on the main objectives, are called as minor policies. They do provide directions, like see, the manager is telling them to take leave, isn't it? They do provide directions, but they are not going to have a much importance. They are going to have less importance. Even if the workers are going to come to the organization, it is not going to have a impact. Okay. Then fourth point, composite policies. When we talk about composite policies, we do have a collection of policies in any organization, isn't it? When we talk about a particular objective, say for example, to achieve a particular objective, a number of policies may be used. These are called as composite policies. See, to achieve one particular objective, we may have a collection of policies. Okay, these are called as composite policies. Let me give an example to have a better clarity. Say, for example, to increase sales, a company may follow expansion, taking up similar products, or following aggressive marketing. So these are composite policies. So we are going to have multiple factors, and then we are going to have different policies to achieve one single objective. So those are called as composite policies. So this is all about policies, types of policies. So with this, the policy topic is over. This is the 6th topic in the syllabus. So with this, it is over. But then let me give you the limitations of policies also. All these same, we were dealing with different topics. Let us have a recap on the topics alone now. Okay. We saw the definition and then features of a policy. We had 4 basic features of any policy. Okay, any policy should have all these 4 features. And then purpose or need or importance of policy, and consideration in for policy formulation, characteristics of a sound policy. We had 12 points under this, and process of policy formulation. This is a 6-step process which is involved in formulating a policy. Then types of policy. So then we can talk about something called as limitations. when we say policies or guidelines, they do have something, they do not provide actually ready-made answers to all the problems, isn't it? So they do have something called as limitations. And the first limitation will be they do not provide universal solutions. Policies do not offer universal solutions to all problems. So policies are actually framed under particular situations and they remain suitable under those circumstances only. Okay, so they do not provide universal situations and they do not provide instant solutions. They are just guidelines for the decision makers, ma. They cannot replace human judgment. They cannot provide instant judgments whenever there are some obstacles happening. Then they are going to dampen human initiation because too many policies kill the initiative of the managers. Policies also leave only limited room for the individual initiative. So when policies are set, they are the guidelines, isn't it? So all the managers and the employees will obviously follow it. So their initiatives might be dumped because of this policies. They are no substitute for human judgment. So policies do not provide standard solution to various problems. So human judgment cannot be substituted by framing policies. So this is all about limitations. I'll again repeat the limitations. They do not provide universal solutions. They do not provide instant solutions. They dampen human initiation, and they are not the substitute for human judgment. So this is all about policies of in the planning process. So thank you, students. If you have any doubts, you can ask me.